Hello, my Teaserking family. Let's talk college football. So we did pros yesterday. We're going to do college now. Keep in mind, 5 locks going tomorrow, and another 5 strong plays. Just did a couple of 6-17 parlays with some family. So that's out there. Um, don't listen to the radio. I was listening to the radio on the way home. What a bunch of idiots. One guy, like, he took Army and Navy, and you're like, dude, what do you do? Are you out of your mind? So just be careful listening. They just want you to bet. They don't really know what they're doing. Um, let's see. We got a score: UCF 14, Louisville 7. I wasn't playing that one anyway. Really no thought on that. So let's go through the line real quick. We've got Boise 17, 43.5 tomorrow. Or no, that's tonight. That's 9 o'clock. So it's in a half hour. I don't really have a play on that because I don't know how bad New Mexico is. They're not good. Now, one thing, yeah, I give you Z teams last year, and then we got to adjust this year. So I don't know, because a lot of Division I teams played Division II teams last week. I don't know how to adjust them yet. I can't take them serious. So I'm not going to, like Kansas. Kansas wins by 50, but I don't. Are they still a Z team? Maybe they are an over team now or a W, but I can't until I get those teams changing. I can't. The only team that I kind of changed was Arizona. Went from a Z team to possibly an over team now or a B team. They kicked their shit out of San Diego State. We know San Diego State's got a very good defense always. So they put up 38 on that. I'm like, okay, they're real. The quarterbacks from Washington State, the Luca, looked very good, 4 touchdowns. So Arizona is not a Z anymore. So that I can feel confident because they beat San Diego State. Otherwise, you just don't know. Or if they play a Division II team, I'm not going to change them yet until they finally play it. All right, let's go back. Ohio State, 44.5, 68.5 over under. North Carolina, 7, 64.5 against Georgia State. Penn State, Ohio. Penn State, 28. Ohio, Penn State, 28, over under 54.5. UTSA, 2.5 over the Army, 54.5. Miami, Southern Miss, 26.5, 51. Northwestern, 10, 57 over Duke. K-State, 7.5, 56.5 over Missouri. Arkansas, 9, 54.5 over South Carr. Alabama, 20, 65.5. That's the free pick I gave out yesterday with Cincinnati Bengals. So that's your free pick, Alabama, minus 20. Wake, 12.5, 65 against Vanderbilt. Wake gets Hartman back. We thought he was we didn't know when he was coming back. First, he was out for the year. Then he's ill. I don't know if it was a COVID thing or what he had, but he is supposed to be playing tomorrow. So that's he's an over guy. He's a great quarterback. He's up there with Van Dyke. So look for Wake to start scoring again. Let's see. Now, I don't really get into these Division II games. So like Minnesota, Western Illinois. I'm not even going to comment on those. Central South Alabama. This is a tough one. 5 and 59. I'll get back to it in a minute. I just want to go through the lines. Western Michigan, 6.5, 52.5 against Ball State. Temple, 13.5 over my Louisiana Lafayette. I think that's Louisiana Lafayette. 13.5 over under 38.5. I don't even, how can that be? Notre Dame, 20.5, 50.5 against Marshall. Maryland, 26.5, 65.5 against Charlotte. Again, is Reynolds playing? Hey, Vinny, not much. Just going through college right now, but welcome to join. Please feel free to ask questions and comments and things like that. So if Reynolds doesn't play, then it's better for Maryland. But at this point, he's still listed as questionable. He didn't play last week, so that's a big difference if Charlotte doesn't have Reynolds. Tennessee Pitt, Tennessee 6.5, 65. Memphis 5.5, 49.5 over the Navy. Air Force 18, 50.5 over Colorado. A&M 1954 over App State. Wisconsin 17.5, 49 over Washington State. Colorado State 11.5, 58.5 over Middle Tennessee. Michigan State 34.5, 56 over Akron. Illinois 457 over Virginia. Cal 12.5, 48 over Vegas. Texas Tech 62.5 over Houston. Iowa 3.5, 40 over Iowa State. Okay, a lot of Division II games. Good God. East Carolina 13, 50.5 over Old Dominion. West Virginia 13.5, 60 over Kansas. UAB 6.5, 50.5 over Liberty. I hate when I got all these Division II games scattered in. Florida 6, 51.5 over Kentucky. Toledo 28.5, 49 over UMass. Syracuse 23, 49.5 over Connecticut. Oklahoma 33.5, 72.5 over Kent. Louisiana, this I think is Louisiana Lafayette 11.5, 56.5 against Eastern Michigan. There's Louisiana Lafayette, Louisiana Monroe. And Louisiana Monroe is not 11.5 over anybody. Tulsa 663 over Northern Illinois. Texas State 13.5 over Florida International, which is confusing because Texas State's also playing North Texas, so I don't know what's going on there. Auburn 24, 48.5 against San Jose State. Nebraska 23, 62.5 against Georgia Southern. USC 867 over Stanford. Oregon State 11, 58.5 over Arizona State. See here, you got North Texas 36 over Texas State. I don't. There's no way that's Texas State. Texas State. There must be a Division II Texas State because the regular Texas State is not that bad. North Texas would never be 36 over them. That must be a Division II team. Michigan 51.5, 67 over Hawaii. VTech 2.5, 46 over BC. Excuse me. UTEP 17, 46.5 over New Mexico State. BYU down to 2.5, 53.5 against Baylor. Oregon State's a 1 and an even against Fresno State, 61.5. And Arizona, Mississippi State's 10.5, 57.5 over Arizona. So if I go and look at I have 5 locks going. 2 are over-unders and 3 are teams. If I look at my Z teams, so I look at the crap teams who I think are still crap teams. Let's see. So we got Michigan State, Akron. Akron's a Z team. Michigan State's laying 34. Does Michigan State, I like Thorne, the quarterback. Do they have enough offense? And are they going to score enough to cover 28, basically? I don't know. They're kind of run the ball. Their defense is okay. It's a tough one there. Toledo and UMass. UMass is the Z. Toledo lane 30. Over under 53. Now, Toledo is a pretty high scoring team. They're an A team. I can see them blowing out UMass. UMass is terrible. The other Z team is Michigan, Hawaii. Hawaii's terrible this year. Michigan's 52 over Hawaii. Is Michigan that strong offensively to cover that? It's a good question. And like it's Hawaii, okay, so Hawaii probably won't score a lot. Michigan, the problem lane 52, you get up 45 to nothing. Your starters out, your second stringers are in, maybe your third string defense is in. I mean, what are you keeping them out there for? And then you get that late touchdown, which screws the over. That's the thing I worry about with the 52-point line. Very big line. The next Z is New Mexico State against UTEP. UTEP's an E team, not an explosive team, laying only 13.5. That one, I think UTEP should cover 7.5 against a Z New Mexico State. So those are your Z teams. So really not much. Maybe Toledo is there. Is Connecticut still a Z team? They were a Z team last year. They found a running back, and they've been running the ball, and they got Jim Mora Jr. as the coach, and they beat Coastal, Central Connecticut, who, is a high school team, and they played Utah State fairly well. So I don't know right now if they're still a Z team, but Syracuse should blow them out 19.5. Let's see. So Michigan, it's such a high number. So let's get into strong dogs. All right. So when I go down the list, UTSA and Army, two A teams playing. Army played Coastal Carolina pretty good. UTSA lane the 2. Army and 8 probably is a good play. I think it's a dog. UTSA is a very good team, like Frank Harris, the quarterback. They played Houston down to the wire, went to overtime with them. So UTSA is a very strong team, as is Army. Again, it's hard to play Army because you can't practice against their offense because it's impossible. You can't run it as well as they can run it, and that's the problem. And they just saw Coastal Carolina, so them watching a passing team in UTSA is not going to be a big deal for Army. Probably a good dog play there. Over under 54. I don't know what you got with Army. They played Coastal Carolina, was like in the mid 50s. What was that score? Where is that game? So Army, Coastal Carolina, 38-28. So they played a 66. So probably in that neighborhood, I would think you're going to get with UTSA Army. So Army probably scores upper 20s, UTSA probably in the 30s. So yeah, could be a little bit of an over. Army is they were an under team, but they discovered an offense. Like I said, 28 against Coastal Carolina, who's a pretty good. They're an A team. They got a good defense. They still lit them for 28. So I wouldn't be surprised if this game goes over 48. But I think teasing the dog is a good one. Wake Forest, Vandy. This is Wake Forest lane 12 with Hartman. How good or bad is Vandy? They were a Z team last year, so they beat crappy Hawaii. But they put up a 63. That's what gets your attention. Then they beat a Division II team last week. You have no idea. So beating Hawaii doesn't do anything. Now, if they beat Wake Forest, they're not a Z team. I don't know what you have. I mean, they basically played two terrible teams and they won, but now you got Wake Forest, and with Hartman, they'll definitely light it up. Probably an over 60 with Hartman in there. Alabama, Texas. I gave you that yesterday. I'd take Alabama. I don't see Texas as a live dog in this game. I am not fucking with Alabama's defense. Texas has no defense, and at the end of the day, you must think defense. And if you think defense, then you're going to sit there and say, you know what? Alabama can stop Texas. Texas can't stop Alabama. And Alabama's a little pissed. They didn't win the playoff last year, but nobody was beating Georgia. Georgia would have beaten half the pro teams. And as you saw, the whole defense got drafted, and it should have been the first two rounds. The whole defense gets drafted. So definitely Alabama's got a little bit of a mood, and all they got to do is win by 4. I'd rather take Alabama laying 14 than Texas in 26. Let's see. Central Michigan, South Alabama. This game, the initial look was, Central. They put up 38 on Oak State. I'm taking them. Maybe I'm going to bet them over. Then I studied South Alabama, and they're really a good defensive under team, which totally fucks this up because I can't take Central. Well, I think they'll still win. I mean, Oak State's defense is better than South Alabama's, but I hate to take a strong offense against a strong defense. I like playing them against the weak defense. I wish I had Central Michigan against Mass or against Connecticut or against – I'd rather have Central Michigan laying 34 to Akron than Michigan State. Central would kill them. Michigan State, I have my doubts on. So that's the difference. So this game, I don't know. This game, it was like, okay, I'm taking Central. No, they have a good defense. Or I was going to go over, but with a good defensive team, I'm frozen on this game. So I can't take Central to win, although I think Central wins. I mean, they're at home. Good God, they gave Oak State all they wanted. I can't imagine they can't score on South Alabama, but it won't be they won't beat them by 30. Well, I doubt they'll beat them by 30. So this is Central maybe gets the win. You can't play it over because of South Alabama. So it's a frozen game. I hate this because, that's why you like two overs. You like betting against the weak defense. It's really the key. Hey, Vanilla. I just started just going through college right now. Let's see. Live dogs. A&M 17 over App State. App State is definitely a live dog here, getting 23. A&M, they never have an offense. Now, they usually have a pretty good defense, but App State is a very strong team. As they showed you against North Carolina, they don't have a big deal. What's North Carolina? What am I got them at? I got them as an over team, so they do have a weak defense. A&M's got a strong defense, but App State, they'll play with you. They got a good quarterback. They got a good defense. This is a lot of points to give to App State, 23 from an A&M team that doesn't score all that much, and I don't see them lighting up. This is a very live dog in App State. Wisconsin, Washington State, another live dog in Washington State. Now, I was watching them against Idaho. Who's Idaho? Well, they're Division II, but it's a rivalry. They're 5 miles apart. And I'll tell you, Washington State's defense looked really good. Granted, it's Idaho, but they still had a very tough defense. Wisconsin doesn't score points, right? 17 here is way too many. Washington State in 23, that or the under, you got 40, went up to 49, you got under 55. I don't see the score getting anywhere near that. Just Wisconsin, they just don't score. They have running, but I think Washington State's defense is going to just zero in on them. And Washington State should find enough points to definitely cover 23. Tennessee 6.5 over Pitt. Man, I thought Pitt would be favored at home. Tennessee, excellent quarterback in Hooker. Pitt, excellent quarterback in Slovis. Probably be a high-scoring game. As far as a live dog, I think Pitt and 12.5 is a very live dog at home. Tennessee, yeah, they killed Ball State. That was my lock, absolutely. They're a high-scoring team, just what you like in a lock against a weaker team that, okay, we need to score 30. Yeah, we're going to get that with Tennessee. Not like Michigan State, Akron. I don't trust Michigan State is not as explosive as like a Tennessee or UCLA or Utah. So here, Tennessee 6.5. I can't sit there and say Tennessee's going to win the game, which means the dog Pitt is a good play here, and of course the over is a good play because I think Tennessee's, I don't know what kind of defense they have, but I know they're gonna put up, this could be over by halftime. I mean, they're gonna put up 40. Pitt put up 40. This should be an 80, 90 point game. But Pitt, I think, is a live dog here in Pitt. So we'll see what happens. Memphis 6.5 over Navy. Absolutely. Navy's a live dog. Memphis got killed by Mississippi State. I took them over last week and it came through, but they weren't competitive against Mississippi State. Navy is going to run the ball. Can Memphis figure that out? If they can't, Navy's a very live dog here. We'll see, because Navy lost to Delaware, but I don't know what that means because Navy, with that style of offense, running the triple option, Delaware could run the same offense. Who knows? Delaware is a very good team. So the fact they lost is okay, but Navy's probably a good dog here, but I think we can find better games. Mary, Charlotte. Again, Charlotte, you got to check if Reynolds is playing. Very good quarterback, but got hurt. They lost to William and Mary. Quarterback's out. Quarterback's listed as questionable this week, Reynolds. If he doesn't play, Mary will kill him. If he does play, then it's an over. So you got to wait till tomorrow and check the injuries. Baylor, BYU. Absolutely love Baylor getting points. Very strong dog in this game. BYU, good team. Baylor, better team, got the balance that I talk about, running and passing. This game's dead even. Take the dog. If Baylor was favorite, I'd be taking BYU. But I really like that Baylor's the dog in this game. Same thing, Fresno State, Oregon State. Love the dog. Fresno State favored by 1.5. I like the dog, Oregon State. Very live dog. Just like Baylor, very balanced. That's what you're looking for. Pretty good defense. Don't mind it at all. Now, a surprise is Old Mississippi State, Arizona. Arizona lit up San Diego State. They are not a Z team. Now, are they an A team or an over team? We don't know yet. Not enough information. But Mississippi State laying 9 to Arizona in the desert. I don't know. Mississippi State did blow out Memphis. I think Arizona can score on them. I don't know how live a dog they are. We'll see. Probably over is a more prudent way to play this game because Mississippi State's going to score, Mike Leach, and Arizona after last week's going to score. They put up 38 on San Diego State. They're going to score. They got DeLuca, the quarterback from Washington State. So I definitely I think I'd go over before I took Arizona in 15, but I think Arizona in 15 can play with them. Another one, Houston, Texas Tech. The spread's 4. Again, I like the dog in this game. Houston getting 10 points. Played UTSA. UTSA is a better team than Texas Tech, right? Texas San Antonio is the A team in the Conference USA. Houston is a very strong team in the AAC, the All-American Conference. I like the dog here. Houston, the coach was at West Virginia, Dana Holgerson, and he's a very good coach, good offense. I like Houston as a dog here. Illinois, Virginia, same thing. I think this game is take the dog. Virginia in 11. They're an E team. Illinois doesn't score a lot. Okay, they killed Wyoming. And then what did I tell you? They go to Indiana and they lose. So what the hell team do you have here? They're going to run the ball and play defense. Virginia, now their coach left. Mendenhall, who was BYU's coach, went there, and he just quit at the end of the year. They got a new coach. Don't know enough about them yet, but they're probably I would take Virginia in 11 before I'd take Illinois to win the game. But there's better games on the. I'd rather go with Baylor, Houston, Dogs than this one. Cal in Vegas. I was asked about should I take Vegas. Vegas is still a W team. They killed a Division II team. Now, if they can beat Cal, I like Wilcox, the coach. They're okay. Decent, strong defense. I wouldn't be surprised if they, beat them by 25, 30. Vegas is still Vegas until they're not. So now, if they go to Cal and beat them 30-20, Vegas is no longer a Z. But we don't know that. All we know is they beat a Division II team, put up 50 points. Iowa State, love the dog in this game. Iowa. Now, 7-3 against the Jackrabbits. I get it. And they got 4 wide receivers out. That's what's happening with Iowa. So you got a quarterback who's not bad, but he's got 4 wide receivers out. Who's he going to throw the ball to? Iowa State lost Brock Purdy. He's on the Niners, I believe. And always have a good defense. Love Iowa State's coach, Campbell. When the Lions got Campbell, I thought that was the coach they got, was the Iowa State coach. I got excited for a minute, and then I realized it was some bum who's never coached before. And I go, well, that's typical Lions. So they're not smart enough to get the Iowa State coach. So this game definitely this is definitely a dog game. This is definitely an under game. First team to 13 wins, I guess. I mean, Iowa State will play very conservative, short passes, running, and defense, as will Iowa. You can't look at South Dakota State and say, well, Iowa's not going to score. That's a different game. They'll block a punt. They'll do something. But I feel at the end of the day, this game probably gets into the low 30s. But I think you can tease the dog. Now, Iowa generally wins this game over Iowa State, but I think we'll see. All these wide receiver injuries make it tough. Let's see. West Virginia, Kansas, don't know. West Virginia's 13.5. Is Kansas still a Z team? They got better at the end of the year with a new quarterback. They lit up Division II team. So are they still the worst? Again, we don't know. We don't have enough information this year to jump on West Virginia laying only 7.5. Now, they played Pitt very strong. Good offense. Their defense wasn't that good. Kansas should score here. This is almost an over if Kansas is real. If the quarterback from last year who was lighting it up, I think he beat Texas. They were scoring. They were playing some high-scoring games at the end, so he's back. So this is almost an over, but I can't trust Kansas. We don't have enough to trust Kansas, but I don't think they're a Z team. Right now I got them as a W. And do I trust West Virginia? They could blow them out because Kansas is Kansas, but we'll wait and see. We'll look for – see, you want to look for the better opportunity. Florida, Kentucky. Love the dog here. Florida's 4.5 is up to 6.5, maybe even 7. Can somebody tell me why? Utah should have beat them. They had a goal line stand at the third quarter. The running back falls at the 3-yard line without being hit. He's going to walk in. And at the end of the game, if he doesn't throw the interception, they kick the field goal. It's tied. And then in overtime, I'll bet my money on Rising all day long, the Utah quarterback. So Kentucky is better than Florida. Kentucky's a very good team. To talk Big Ten lingo, they're probably Purdue. They're probably Penn State or Michigan State. That's how good Kentucky is. Florida is probably Purdue. They're not the power. The powers are Georgia and Alabama. Now I had talked LSU. Forget it. Kelly fucked that whole thing up, going with a running quarterback and pissing off his 4 all pro receivers. So Kelly needs his head examined, the Notre Dame LSU coach. But in this case, this game's dead even. Take the dog all day long, Kentucky. This game, Kentucky, if Kentucky wins, I am not surprised. Over under, I don't know. Probably an over. How good is this Richardson? Who knows? Now you've got some tape on him. See, this is the thing. Before you have tape on him, you really don't know how to defend him. Now you got tape on him from the Utah game, and Kentucky is going to figure out, probably spy him. And I don't know how good a passer he is. That's the Lamar Jackson, right? He can't pass the ball. You spy him with the safety, and he's nothing. And I don't know. Richardson, he did not have good passing numbers. Last year, he threw for like 200 yards, and he had 6 touchdowns and 7 interceptions in 4 or 5 games. He was not anything special. They're making him into a running quarterback, but they're going to get shut out by Georgia. If they play Alabama, they're going to get shut out. I know Florida plays Georgia. Kentucky, they play Tennessee. I don't think they can beat Tennessee. All this hype on Richardson's making the line go, but the Sharps, the Teaser Kings, the Professors, Kentucky's the better team here, and you get points. So go with Kentucky here. They're a very live dog here. See, here I'd rather take Kentucky than dick around with Virginia, Illinois, or some of the other Virginia, or like Arizona, Mississippi State. I would rather take Kentucky. I would rather take Houston, Baylor, or Oregon State. Those are strong dogs that are the better teams getting the points. That's what you look for. Let's see. Tulsa, Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois is a good team. Tulsa, don't know. High scoring. They're both. Well, Tulsa's an over. Northern Illinois, I think I have them as a B team. I don't know. Probably be a close game, I would think. Now, here's my interesting one. This is my Teaser King special. Oklahoma 30, I think it's 32 or 33 now. Over under a 72 to Kent State. My Kent State. Now, I had them last week getting 30 points from Washington, getting the W, 45 to 20 Washington. They had a touchdown call back on the worst pass interference penalty I've ever seen. The receiver did nothing. He just ran right by somebody. They called him for pass interference. It was a touchdown. Then they ended up kicking a field goal, so it cost them 4 points. So let's say it's 45-24. What is Oklahoma this year? All right. They didn't kill UTEP. They put up 40-something. Kent State puts up 20 on Washington. Washington probably a little better defensively than Oklahoma, but we don't even know who Oklahoma is now with this new coach. We know they're running a fast-paced offense. They're running the UCF offense with the UCF quarterback, Gabriel. So I don't know what that tells me. What kind of defense does it have? I honestly don't know. I know Kent State, great offense, very balanced. They're going to score. Don't kid yourself. So they put up 21. I got 38 in a teaser. That's 50. That's 60 points I got. Is Oklahoma going to score 60 on Kent State? Kent State isn't that bad. They're not a Z team. They're an over team. They'll score 35, give up 35, but they're going to score for you. Or you go over 72. Now, if Oklahoma runs this fast break, they're not going to stop Kent State. Kent State's going to give you, like I said, figure Kent State to give you the same 24. So if we repeat the Washington game, it was a 65. You got 72 here. You need one more point. But now that they got the game, and it was a new quarterback for Kent State, but now that he's got the game and he played Washington, now you got Oklahoma. I'm not afraid of Oklahoma, this Oklahoma team, as I would be last year's Oklahoma team. I feel very good with Kent State with the balanced offense. Quarterback was okay. And again, they put up 20 on Washington. I think this game, I would like the over if it stayed at 70. 72, now I got 66 is such a big number. I don't like the over because of the number. If it was in the 60s, I would be all over Kent State over in this game. So that leaves me with the 32.5, 33 of taking Kent State and 40, and I think that's a good bet. I don't see Oklahoma beating them by 40 points. Again, if this was Rice, like USC, I would be all over Oklahoma, but this is not a Z team. Kent State is a very strong, balanced offense. They run and pass for 250 a game. Good luck stopping it. So if they need to run a little to rest their defense, they can do it. So I'm going to have to take Kent State in the 38.5, and I think that spread's way high. I'd say in the 20s is probably where it should be. Just like Washington, it was 20. It went up to 23. 20, I think it went to 24. I had 30, and I got the win. And how is Oklahoma 7 points better than Washington when they don't have the defense Washington has? And I actually like the Fresno State coach, who's the Washington coach, better than this Oklahoma coach, who's never coached before. It's just the Clemson defensive coordinator. And as you saw, Clemson's defense looked just as good as they'd done before. So not sure. So, again, this is a very good dog in Kent State. Let's see. VTech 3 over BC. I think that's a live dog. I think BC lost to Rutgers somehow, but VTech lost to Old Dominion. I don't see how VTech's favored in the game. This is a pretty even game. I think BC and 9, probably good. The quarterback's back. The Notre Dame guy transferred over, got hurt last year, but he was not bad. So that's what I see there. USC Stanford. This started at 9, went down to 7.5, so to 8. I'm scratching my head. My first blush is Stanford plays them very well and usually beats them. But this isn't USC. This is Oklahoma, and they proved it last week. And I just think USC is much better. McKee, the quarterback of Stanford, they beat a Division II team, so everybody's up on them, and they play USC well. But this is not USC. You've got to understand this is Oklahoma. They're going to light them up. I think USC wins this game by 3 touchdowns. I really don't get my point spread's 21 on the game, right? Teaser Kings market, USC 21 over Stanford. The line came out at 9 and down to 7.5, and I'm like, what the fuck's going on? Who's betting Stanford here? USC's they've got the offense that they're going to kill Stanford, and McKee he's not going to keep up with them. This is Oklahoma, but nobody's realizing this is Oklahoma, not USC. USC was a very weak team the last 5 years. They were not good. Now they're Oklahoma, and they got the coach, the quarterback, and they lit up Rice. That's going to carry them here. I don't see how Stanford – I do not like Stanford as the dog in this game. I don't think they'll be able to compete with them. I think USC, and all you got to do is – what you got 8 is 2. All you got to do is win by a field goal. Come on. That's a joke. USC, I think I think they win by 20 in this game. Free play, Alabama, laying the 14 to Texas. Texas's defense has no way of stopping them. I don't like Alabama's quarterback running like he did last week. I thought that was very strange. Why do you want to risk injury? I thought it was wrong, but I think they have some wide receivers out at Alabama. Maybe. Texas, they don't have the defense to play with an Alabama. I don't care where the game's at. Alabama will take care of it. This is an Alabama. It's like now they can focus on Texas. They played their Utah State 55-0. Here's Texas. Not a problem. They'll focus on this game, and then they play an Austin Peay the next week or whatever. Ohio State 44 over Ark State. I don't know. They didn't show up last week against Notre Dame. 40. Now, Arkansas State is usually an over team. Again, I don't know. They didn't play anybody yet. Hard to say. I think it's a big number. We'll see. I'm not crazy about Ohio State's quarterback. I find he made too many bad throws, too many bad decisions. Ohio State doesn't teach their quarterbacks to read the defense and read blitzes. That's why they suck in the NFL. J.T. Barrett, Fields, all of them don't have a clue when they get in the NFL to read a defense because they don't read it here. They just go 8 in the box, I'm throwing. 7 in the box, I'm running. And that's all they do, and they run the option. And it's very – they don't know what they're doing. So I'm not laying 44 with Ohio State yet. Again, Wake Forest, if Hartman plays, and then we got to see what Vandy is. So let's give Hartman a week. He was sick, so he probably hasn't practiced that much. Let him get a game under. And if they blow out Vandy, we'll get him next week. I think that's all you can do. Miami, 25 over Southern Miss. I'm very intrigued by this. I love Van Dyke. I love Miami, this offense. So in a teaser, they got to win by 19. Who's Southern Miss? So I did my Southern Miss research. They lost to Liberty 29-27 last week. No passing. All Frank Gore Jr. ran for 200 yards. So all Miami has to do is stuff Gore Jr., make him pass to beat him. But guess what? Van Dyke's going to light up Southern Miss, at least 5 touchdown passes. So you got Miami scoring 40. Southern Miss, what are they going to do? They scored 27 on Liberty. They're not a strong – what's Liberty is a what's Liberty? Liberty's an E team. So they score 20, mid-20s, give up mid-20s. Not a great defense. Now, Miami is an over team. They don't have a great defense either. If Southern Miss – if Miami was playing Central Michigan, this would be the lock of the year over 56.5. Unfortunately, this is some of the reasons you have locks and then some reasons you can't play. So – Miami with their weak defense makes it hard to lay the 19, even though I think they'll score 40. The question is with Gore, what does Southern Miss? Without a quarterback, how do I get over 56.5 unless Miami gets me 51 points? Can Van Dyke get me 51? Absolutely. If Liberty puts up 29 on them, Miami's going to put up at least 45. With Van Dyke. Van Dyke's that good. So here's where you learn the quarterback, you bet the quarterback. So I got to bet Miami here. The question is, do I lay 19 or do I go over 50.5? Do I think Southern Miss is going to score? I don't like their quarterback, so I don't know how much they're going to score, which then leads me to take Miami minus 19. They don't have that great defense, so it's just a real clusterfuck. Which way to take this game, and I haven't decided yet. I think I'm leaning towards Miami minus 19 with Van Dyke. I just think they'll score, and then it's, well, you're going to run Gore when you're down 35-7. Can you run Gore? No, you got to throw. Then we get the interceptions, but then it keeps it under. They won't hit the 60 unless Miami does it all by themselves. Then I might as well lay the 19. So probably leaning more towards Miami than I am the over. But I don't know. Southern Miss, their quarterback sucks. Again, it's all Frank Gore Jr. So what do you do with it? North Carolina, Georgia State. North Carolina, 8.5, 62. Roughly that was the earlier line. I don't remember what I gave you. Georgia State's a very strong offensive team. They're an over team. Good quarterback, good running back, good receivers. North Carolina, as we saw, they can light it up. To score 60 on App State, all in regulation. no overtime. They can score. I like their quarterback, whoever this new guy is. He looks very good. Georgia State will score on you, and North Carolina doesn't have a defense. So this is a better over. If it's 62.5, then it's a very reachable over 56.5, and it could be over by mid-third quarter. Let's look at the score. So I'll forget everything. North Carolina is playing Georgia State. Give me a score, and I see 40-something to 30-something. That's a 70-something. Your over-under is 62 is 56. Definitely an over game. See, that's the thing. The Georgia State, you gotta. That's why you gotta know these teams, and you gotta know their quarterbacks, and that's what I look at is the quarter. That's why the quarterback's the key. You got a Van Dyke or Rising, you bet them. You don't. You got a Southern Miss quarterback. You're screwed. You can't bet. You can only bet them under, and so that's what I see here. But Georgia State's got a very good quarterback in Granger. North Carolina, I don't remember the guy's name, but he looked really good so far. He's got like 9 touchdowns already in 2 games. So I think North Carolina lights it up. Georgia State gets definitely into the 20s. It's a 40-20 game easily. 62 over 56.5. Absolutely jump on that. Let's see. Duke and Northwestern. Question on Duke. Question on Northwestern. Duke beats Temple 30-0. Just makes Temple the Z, but I don't see him. I'd see him this week. So Temple's gone to Z. All right. Navy was a Z last year. I don't know what to put him at yet. We'll find out. So even though what you have last year in college, because of the change in coach and the change in roster, are they a Z everything? Yeah, New Mexico State, absolutely. UMass, absolutely. Connecticut's maybe becoming a W. Kansas, we're not sure if they're still a Z. But then you get teams like Temple who lose to Northwestern 30-0. Their quarterback sucks. I'm not sure what Duke has one of these option type of running, passing quarterbacks who didn't look bad, but against Temple, what's he going to look like against Northwestern? Northwestern beats Nebraska, was down and came back. So Northwestern here, you're laying 10.5, 56. I don't see going over in the game, but I think Northwestern definitely wins, but we'll see how good Duke is. It's a little high of a point spread to, lay 4.5 to Duke, but Northwestern should handle it. Like I said, good coach teams after a really bad season get pissed and play a good season. They've already beaten Nebraska, who is always, everybody wants Tom Osborne. They're not that team. And so Northwestern, I think at home, handles Duke here, probably by 14 points or so. Spread's 10.5. I think they cover that. Now, an interesting game is Penn State and Ohio. Penn State gave up 35-31 to Purdue. Now, Purdue, good quarterback, great coach, Braum, offensive coach. But Penn State's defense wasn't there. Ohio is a very strong over team. So over-under is only 53.5. Penn State definitely going to get in the 30s against Ohio with the weak defense. But I see Ohio putting up 20. That's a 50. You got 47.5. I think this game goes over. I think you got 2 over teams. Again, you can't get branded, it's Ohio, they're a MAC team, they're not going to score. It's like Kent. Kent can play with anybody except for maybe Georgia, Alabama. But and they got Georgia in 2 weeks. So I am not fucking around with them against Georgia. But once we get Kent, and if I'm praying Kent plays Central, I will go over 80. If the line's 80, I'm still playing it over. That's what I'm looking for. But Kent in the MAC is going to be an over and a strong dog all day. So Ohio, Penn State should be an over game just because Penn State doesn't have the defense. Ohio's got a good offense. So keep that in mind. Notre Dame, Marshall, I have no idea. Marshall killed Division II. Notre Dame looks like they're an under team. No quarterback. You can't tell about their offense because they played Ohio State, and then their defense was pretty good against Ohio State. But I think a lot of that is Ohio State's quarterback sucked. Marshall, very explosive now. Their best player, running back Ali, I think is either out or questionable. Well, if he's out, I can't take Marshall. If he played, Marshall could pull the upset with that guy. I got Marshall as an over team. So it's hard to play that. I'm not going to play Marshall against Notre Dame without Ali, the running back. He's one of these running backs you can't touch. He's a great running back. He's like the kid at UTSA, McCormick last year. You couldn't touch him. Just so many moves. So we'll see. He's on the Raiders, and the Raiders are sitting him out this year. Unbelievable. Typical Raider fashion. But so this guy's a great running back, Ali. So once he starts playing, then we can feel comfortable with Marshall as a dog. What else? I think we covered most of it. UTEP, New Mexico State, the Z team, BC, Michigan, Hawaii. Somebody give me a score on the game. Is Michigan really going to score 60 points and shut them out? I just have a hard time with that. I think Michigan, because of the quarterback controversy, which is not really one, I think McNamara beat Ohio State, beat Iowa, and nobody's beaten Georgia. Alabama couldn't beat them, couldn't score on them. So it's not like that's a big issue. I don't like this JJ McCarthy that he's a superstar. I don't see it when I watch it. I think McNamara is a better quarterback. They're letting McCarthy. Harbaugh is so fucked up in the mind. You don't have two quarterbacks. You never have two quarterbacks. You have one. You have a leader, and the team follows them, and that's critical for a team. The 87, 88 49ers had Montana and Young, and they were divided, and they went like 8-8. I think it was 87. They went 8-8. I mean, they were not a good team. Holmgren, the Packer coach, was the offensive coordinator, and he goes to Bill Walsh, and Walsh is like, what do? We keep losing. He says, you got to settle on one quarterback. Just play Montana, and he did. And then they went on to win the Super Bowl that year, I believe. But it was like you've got to have one quarterback. And if you can't win with Montana and Young, you ain't winning with anybody. So you got to pick one and have a leader, and the team follow. The team needs to follow somebody. So you cannot have two quarterbacks. It will never work if it didn't work in that situation. But that's why Michigan's 50 points. Is Hawaii that bad? Well, Vanderbilt killed them. And I think they lost to a Division II team last week. So Michigan, I wouldn't want to bet against Michigan here. I just think 52 points is a little too much. Nebraska 21 over Georgia Southern. We'll get a good look at Nebraska this week. I don't know what Georgia Southern is this year. They used to be a running team. They used to run the Navy Army offense, and now they switched coaches, switched offenses, but it's new, so we'll see what they have. Nebraska, they could win. This is a weak team. We'll see. Auburn 22 over San Jose State. San Jose State lost to some Division II team or barely beat them. Auburn, I have no idea. I think they got a new coach, a new quarterback. Bo Nix is at Oregon. I don't know. I'm not touching this game. Although San Jose State stinks, I would think Auburn should beat them just because they're SEC. Lou Lafayette, Eastern Michigan, 10.5. I'm curious to see Lou Lafayette. Now they got a new coach. The coach goes to Florida. Levi Lewis should be in the pros. I don't know if he is or not. So they got a new coach, new quarterback. We got to see who they replaced him with. So this is a watch and see how Lou Lafayette. They were a very good team. We'll have to see. Tulsa 6 over Northern Illinois. Tulsa's an over team. Northern Illinois a B team. I have no idea. Probably a dog game. Probably Northern Illinois and 12 is probably good. I also have over 57 mark that it would be probably an over game because Tulsa doesn't have a good defense. Northern Illinois scores a lot, even though they're a B team. So I could see it going over also. Syracuse, UConn, this will be a good learning game. Syracuse is only 19.5. They just killed Louisville. We'll see how good they are, but I think they killed Connecticut here. You beat Louisville, you're going to beat Connecticut. Connecticut runs, but I think so does Louisville's a big running team, running quarterbacks. I think Syracuse handles a weak Connecticut team, and we'll see how strong they are. I mean, Utah State beat them, and it was a fluke game because Connecticut's running back gained like 190 yards in the game. They got, he broke a couple of long runs in the first quarter, and that was it. And then the third quarter, they punted Utah State to the 1 and to the 5. So they had, they got the ball at their own 1. They're not taking chances, their own 5. They're leading by 10 points. They just never scored again. Is UConn going to punt the ball at the 1 yard line on Syracuse? Good luck. Being at Connecticut, I don't think matters. Yeah, I like Jamora, but you got a question, what's he doing in Connecticut? And Syracuse has been loading up, so let's see if this is their year. So this is a watch game. Like I said, Toledo 30 over the Z team Mass. Toledo should pound them there. And that's about it. Again, we're watching a lot now. We know our Alabamas, we know our Georgias, we know our main teams. We got Michigan, Ohio State. It's the new teams. How good's Florida? We know Kentucky's good. Fresno State, Oregon State, interesting game. Fresno State, love the quarterback Hayner, new coach. Oregon State, love their quarterback Nolan. Should be a tight game. Take the dog in that game. That's about it. Air Force, we'll see how bad Colorado is. I like Air Force. They're laying 18. It's a big number. I'm not interested in laying that many points, but Air Force is a very strong team, and I love their quarterback Daniels. Very strong. So I wouldn't be surprised if they beat them. But Colorado, how bad are they? TCU beat them pretty good. Their quarterback looked pretty shitty, Colorado. So we'll see. So this is like, let's see, how good is Arizona an over? They put up 38 with the new Washington State quarterback. Are they going to keep doing that? I think for now, beating San Diego State. Now, had they beat Cal Poly Pomona, who knows? Well, they beat Cal Poly. They beat San Diego State. They get a lot of credit. The quarterback looked good, 4 touchdowns. I think Arizona is a good over at this point. I think they're a good team. No problem. We already know Baylor. We know Oak State. We pretty much know USC, UCLA, and Utah. We're not quite sure about Oklahoma. Who are they? Texas, we know, is an over, and then Baylor and Oak State are the teams there. So we have a few new Z teams, possible like Temple. Is Kansas still a Z team? Is Connecticut still a Z? So this is what we're going to find out. We know Hawaii sucks. Can UTEP kill New Mexico State? So you have all these that we don't have enough information on yet. The new coaches, the new quarterbacks. That's the thing when you get all this shuffling around. DeBoer leaves Fresno State and he goes to Washington. Okay, well, he's a good coach. Washington looked pretty good against Kent State, but how are they going to look against Oregon and against Washington State and against UCLA and USC? That's what you got to really see. So the Pac-10's loaded. They got UCLA, USC, Utah, Arizona now, Washington State, maybe Washington. Is Oregon as bad as they look? See, that's what you got to take out. Okay, they played Georgia, and I was dead on with Georgia. Their defense didn't look any different than last year's. It's a system, and the guy's drafting similar type of players. He rotates them in, so it's not a problem that 10 of them get drafted by the pros. and here comes the other 10 that got rotated in, look just as strong. Is Oregon that bad? Is Georgia that good? No, neither. Oregon's not that bad. Georgia's not that good. It was a matchup thing. Now, I do not like the coach of Oregon, who was the Georgia defensive coordinator. He's a good coordinator, but these rah-rah coaches, I was watching a thing on Chuck Noll, and he would say, we don't get emotional here. You sit on the sidelines, you don't cheer, you don't, root. You don't be emotional, because that doesn't win and it drains you. You just focus on the game. And here you have a rah-rah coach, Jerry Faust at Notre Dame. They sucked. This guy's a rah-rah coach at Oregon. What I saw, I didn't like. He did not know how to beat his own defense. Really? You were the defensive coordinator of Georgia for the last 3, 4, 5 years, and you don't know how to beat them with Oregon? Really? I was a little bit surprised there. So I don't think he's a very good coach. We'll see. But that's what I got. So anyway, I got 5 locks going. I got a few other strong plays. My pros are posted. Should be another big week. Don play. Hey, Don. Professor, I think I picked a bad pick with Iowa State under 40. No. Did you tease it? And why do you think it's a bad pick? I think it's a good pick. I would have teased it under 46, Don, but why do you think it's a bad pick? Unless you mean bad is good, but that's a good pick. Iowa State's a very strong defensive team, just like Iowa. I doubt either team gets to 20 in this game. I think it's a upper 20. I think it's a 26, 27-point game. So I don't know. So why do you think it's a bad pick? I think it's a good pick. I think it's 200 teams. Iowa's not as bad as they looked last week, but that was against South Dakota State. They held them to 3 points, but Iowa had to score on 2 safeties. So that just shows you they're a defensive team. They'll coach to it. They got 4 receivers out, so what they're going to do is run and play the defense, and that'll lead to an under game. I think you're fine under 40. I think you're better under 40. I think I got under 47, but that's what the teaser gives you, that little extra comfort and makes it a better bet so you can feel more comfortable. But I think 40 there, you're fine. I wouldn't go much under 40. Like if it's 37, I don't like under 37s. But what's been ironic with Georgia, I keep getting Georgia in the 50s. It's unbelievable. Like can't they see you can't score on Georgia? And yet they'll be 49, 50, 51, 52, and I'm under 58, and the score's 38-0, patented Georgia. So Don, I think you're fine. I don't know why you think it's a bad play. No, you're good. So that's about it. Any other questions or comments on games? Let me know. So they're pretty much my thoughts again. So I have 5 locks going tomorrow and another couple of plays. And then I got a lot of unders in the pros. As I said yesterday, the pros are, I didn't take too many teams because I can't trust anybody. And this is my point, was yesterday's game. You got Stafford throwing 3 picks, Allen throwing 2, because they hadn't seen action. They were rusty. This is why it's hard to bet a team in week 1. My buddy Nick goes, why aren't you taking the over in the Oakland-San Diego game? And I'm going, did the Buffalo-LA game go over? Now, if that was week 5, that's an over. Week 1, neither of these teams have had any time. They don't have the continuity. Passing teams need the rhythm and the balance. They need to practice. They need game time experience, not practice. They're not ready. That's why I don't like the game. If I was playing anybody, I would probably tease Oakland as the dog in the game. but I don't trust Oakland. You got a new coach, the guy from New England who quit, who's Daniels, who sucked at Houston, went back to New England, and then fucked somebody else over when he agreed to be the coach, and then he went away. Or maybe it was at Denver, and then he went to Houston and fucked Houston over. I don't like him. I don't think he's a good coach. Again, any coach out of New England, you can't. What is it? How many times do you need to see bad coaching come out of New England and they keep getting hired? Who was that big fat guy who went to Notre Dame? I mean, he's great, and then he sucked. And look at Patricia goes to the Lions. They win 2 games. Now he's the offensive coordinator. How the hell does that happen? It's not interchangeable. You can't be the defensive coordinator and then go to the offense and be an offensive coordinator. It doesn't work like that. Either you're a good scheming offense or good scheming defense. I don't think Patricia's either. I think Zappi should be the quarterback, the Western Kentucky guy. But I don't see that. So in the pros, I don't have a lock in the pros. The locks are in college. I know I got one customer, she's playing a 5-team teaser with the lock, getting good odds. So that's a good thing to do this week. You get pretty good odds on a 5-teamer. I'm giving you 5 locks, so it's just right there. And I really love the locks. I was 2-0 on the locks last week, Tennessee, UCLA. Now, this is a different week. Last week you had Tennessee against Ball State, and you had UCLA, Bowling Green, you had USC, Rice. You really don't have that. The closest you have is Toledo, UMass. You don't really have strong offenses against the Z team, partly because USC's playing Stanford. UCLA's not playing anybody. Utah's not playing anybody. They're all playing these Division II teams. The closest you got is Alabama, Texas. So you really don't have – what you have this week is more tease the dog in these even games, right? You have more of that this week. You got good teams as dogs, but you don't really have that, I'm going to bet against them and they're going to put up 70 points. You don't have it. Again, the closest is Toledo, and then the Oklahoma-Kent State is going to get to 70 with both teams. And Alabama probably blows out Texas. Is probably as close as we're going to get. But you don't have Central Michigan, but they got South Alabama, who's apparently a good defensive team, or I'd be all over them. Pitt, Tennessee, 2 over teams playing. You don't really have that. They're going to die. They're a powerhouse offense, and they're going to score. You just don't have it. So anyway, what can I say? That's why weeks are different. That's why, you can easily go with the A against the Z or the over against the Z, but then this week you don't. You just don't have it. You don't, UTEP, New Mexico State doesn't help you. Michigan State, Akron is Michigan State. They should cover 28, but they're not really explosive. They got a good quarterback, but they're going to run the ball and they're going to play the defense. And they're not. I'd rather have Central Michigan, Akron, and I think they do play. They're both MAC teams. I would lock that. If Central Michigan was laying 28 to Akron, I'd be locking Central. They would blow them out, but not Akron. And this is what we learned from the Oklahoma State Central game. That's huge. That'll be there all year, and I like the coach at Central. So that's what right now we're learning. We've got some that we know, and then some we learn, and that's what we're doing. Is Kansas that bad? Is Akron that bad? Is UMass? Is Connecticut? We know Hawaii we think sucks. New Mexico State we think sucks, and that's really what you're looking at, and that's what you're trying to learn here. So anyway, www.teaserking.com. Go to the site, purchase the picks, get my email. Certainly ask me questions. If you want to do the 5-team teaser, then buy the locks and we can talk about that. I can give you a few more plays. You can turn it into a 7, 8, 10-team teaser, whatever you want to do. if you have, you can email me with the game, but if you got a lot of games, then you really got to be a customer who's bought. And then if you are a customer, you get me there. You can ask me anything. So it's more open, but it's like here. I mean, I'm going through most of the games. And if you have questions like Don, just feel free to ask. But I think that's it. So I'll be back, I think, Sunday morning. We'll go through the pros line movements again, and if anything comes up. But we talked pros yesterday. This is college today. So I think we've covered pretty much what we got. Hey, Vanilla. New Mexico State consistently suck every year. Yeah, New Mexico once in a while has a good running team, but put it this way, it's hard to get a good coach. And without a good coach, you can't have a good program. And who the hell is running to New Mexico? You go to California or, you can go to UTSA or, Texas Tech or, there's so many colleges in Texas near New Mexico. So it makes it hard, but that's good for us because we make a lot of money betting against New Mexico State. But every once in a while, New Mexico State had a good quarterback 6-7 years ago, and I would bet on him. I remember Rice had a good quarterback 10 years ago, and I made a fortune on it. When they do get a good quarterback, that's why I watch the quarterbacks. When you see a New Mexico and the guy's 20 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, I'm pounding that guy, and I'm making a ton of money. That's the teams you make a lot of money with when you get that good quarterback. That's why I'm all over Van Dyke and I'm all over Rising. They're not Alabama, right? They're not Ohio State. And I don't really like Alabama and Ohio State's quarterback as much as I like the Miami and the Coastal Carolina and the Utah quarterback. They're much, much better. So that's what I'm looking to bet. Anyway, any other questions, comments, feel free. Otherwise, www.teaserking.com. You can buy the week, you can buy the month, you can buy the year. The year's only $750, and usually I'll give $100 off, so it's $650. And you can go from there. You get the whole year through the Super Bowl, all the locks, all the plays, and I'm your advisor how to bet, money manage, the picks. One of my customers tonight, who do I like in the UTSA Army game? And I talked him off of it. I says, I don't. Army's a good team. I think he wanted under. I says, I don't like the game under. So I talked him off of it. But that's fine. That's what he wanted. I want your opinion. Where he got the game from, he's probably listening on the radio to these idiots, and there's I love this game, and that's the problem. There's so many bullshit bets out there now. They're killing you. It's bet the first half, bet how many catches this guy has, how many wins will Michigan have. Ignore all that noise. It's to get you to bet, and the more you bet, the more you lose. That we don't want. Just stick with the solid teaser. Take it, 4 or 5 team teaser, get odds with it. Focus on these strong games. That's what you want to focus on. You do not want to bet how many wins New England's going to get, how many first downs New England, Miami. Let's take Louisville, throw for 200 yards. Forget all that bullshit. It is there. You will lose every time with it. They're not. Who the fuck knows? I don't know win totals. Georgia probably runs the table, but if Bennett gets hurt, they don't. But if he doesn't get hurt, Georgia's going to go 13-0, and Alabama will go 12-1, and then they'll play in the championship game. Or I don't know who else is going to get there. Ohio State, probably not. Maybe Baylor or Oak State. Maybe Utah or UCLA. Very true. I noticed those small schools tend to produce better NFL quarterbacks. LSU, we can't talk about them. They got Joe Burrow, but the Alabama and Ohio State quarterbacks never do well because they're systems. They do not know how to read the defense or the blitzes. All they do is they line up. Alabama, all they do is have fast receivers, and they just throw to the fast receiver. And in college, they don't have as many fast cornerbacks, so they look really good. But when they get into the pros, none of the receivers of Alabama do any good. Notice it's the LSU receivers. Jamar Chase does well. Burrow does well. Look at these quarterbacks. Hurts sucks. Tagliavoa sucks. And Jones is horrible. Zappi's much better than Jones. So when New England gets their head out of their ass and puts Zappy in, then we'll be betting New England. I ain't betting them with Jones. He's proven he's terrible. So you're right, but they don't know how to read defenses. The LSU guys know a little bit more. But yes, Rising and Van Dyke are much, much better. And McCall, I would take those guys much better. That's why, like I kept saying about Kellen Moore, man, that guy was great at Boise. He'd win all the big games, and that guy should have been the quarterback of the Lions instead of Stafford. Look at Stafford yesterday, 3 interceptions. Guy sucked. All right, I think that's good. Again, email me, www.teaserking.com. Buy the package, email me with questions or comments. If you see a line move tomorrow, just send me an email. I do look at those. I'm not planning on coming on because I did last night tonight, but I will be on Sunday morning, especially week 1 of the pros, and we can talk there. But otherwise, a lot of unders this week. And I can't trust any team to win. Maybe Kansas City, maybe Denver or Tampa. But even that, I'm still like, these guys haven't played a freaking down yet. How can I trust them when it's a timing, that everything's timing? So at this point, it's mostly overs. It's mostly unders. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, www.teaserking.com. Again, 5 locks going tomorrow. No locks in the pros yet. Probably week 2 or 3, I'll start having those. And let me know. So, again, let me know comments, questions, whatever you want. All right, everybody. Have a great night. Take care. Again, the free pick, Alabama, Cincinnati Bengals in the pros. That's the free teaser for you, for everybody. All right. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend. Good luck to everybody.